Greetings, scholars and acolytes. Today we shall tell the tale of when the Imperial Fists and their chapter master Maximus Thane fought against the machinations of the Grand Master Assasin, Draken van Gorish. In the aftermath of the War of the Beast, where the Imperium of Man was on the verge of obliteration, a fragile triumph was snatched from the brink of defeat. In this theatre of survival and desperation, Draken van Gorish, the Grand Master of Assassins, was elevated to Lord Protector, a role of immense gravity bestowed upon him by the Lord Commander of the Imperium, Maximus Thane. This appointment charged van Gorish with a stewardship of the utmost seriousness, to serve as the proxy of Thane, who, in tandem with the valiant Imperial Fists, was still engaged in purging the galaxy of the remnants of the Beast's orc horde. As Thane's forces unleashed the Emperor's wrath across star systems, eradicating the orcish blight, van Gorish was left to navigate the politics of Terra, overseeing the High Lords, whose governance had proven ineffective and faltering in the face of the galaxy's most dire hours. The war had left its marks on the physical expanses of the Imperium and the very fabric of its leadership. Van Gorish, once a shadow player in the great game of power, found himself increasingly disenchanted with the High Lords, whose relentless pursuit of personal power seemed undeterred, even by the existential threat of destruction. The tipping point came with a foul revelation. The fabricator General Kubik had secretly spared the Orc capital of Ulanor from extermination against Thane's explicit commands. Kubik aimed to plunder the alien technologies of Ulanor, a decision driven by greed and the insatiable hunger for advancement that typified the Mechanicus's ethos. This act of defiance, symbolic of the High Lord's perennial scheming, cemented van Gorish's contempt for the ruling elite of the Imperium. Confronted with this stark portrayal of the High Lord's betrayal, where the security of the Imperium was sacrificed for personal gain, van Gorish's resolve hardened like tempered steel. The grim realization that these leaders of humanity would never forsake their ambitions for the greater good led him down a path dark and absolute. In a decision that would echo through the annals of imperial history, van Gorish vowed to dismantle the power structure that had imperiled mankind, to tear down the rot from within, and to reconstruct the governance of the Imperium with himself at its head. Thus, the stage was set for a conflict as profound as it was personal, between Maximus Thane, the warrior champion of humanity, and Draken van Gorish, the assassin-turned-guardian whose vision for the Imperium's salvation was as radical as it was ruthless. So please sit and listen closely as we listen to the tale of how Thane eventually caught up to Draken. The entrance to the temple was deceptively small and unassuming, but the first hall was as grand as a cathedral. Stone blocks with no visible names upon them acted as memorials to the unsung heroes of the Imperium. More temple staff lay dotted around, their skin green, mouths thick with frothed saliva. The Space Marines spread out. Ahead, a broad stairway led downwards into the main part of the temple, an extensive underground complex of training chambers, barracks, surgeries, cells, hypnosariums, and huge machine rooms. Thane had his warriors check them all, though he knew in his gut they would be deserted by all but the dead. Van Gorish waited for them in the depths of the temple, a spider at the heart of its web. He was in the largest hall of all, dominated by monumental statuary and massive glassaic windows whose colors were dulled by the black rock behind them. A vaulted ceiling stretched 100 meters above their heads, supported on a row of columns running down the walls, where they divided the spaces between the windows into cylindrical alcoves, 50 either side of the hall. Van Gorish sat on the steps of a dais at the end of the hall, one knee upraised, his elbow resting on it and his hand cupping his chin. Once so neat and well presented, he had become filthy and unkempt. His nails were long and ragged, and his hair lank. He had become thin, but there was still a hint of his old strength visible in the sinewy cords of his neck and wrist. Though old by the standards of mortals, he was without mechanical aid. He was still dangerous. "Drakan van Gorich," pronounced Thane, "I am here to arrest you for high treason to the Imperium of Man and gross abuse of privilege that goes against the fundamental principles of imperial government." Van Gorich yawned. "You always said you'd come back. Here you are, making good on your threat." His voice had a new wild edge. "You took your time." "I never intended that you rule alone," said Thane. He stepped closer and drew his power sword. Its field glowed faintly in the gloom. "I discovered fairly quickly that it was either rule alone or not rule at all," said Van Gorich. "The Assasinorum was ungovernable. I had to act. Kubik moved Ulanor. That's why I had to kill them. It's still out there, not too far from Terra." "Why did you not recall me? Why did you kill them all?" "Because you would not have come back," said Van Gorich. He stood up, his stale scent wafting out to Thane. "I did my best. You should have ruled, Thane. You would have done better, but you wanted your crusade. I didn't want to be Lord Protector." "You did," said Thane. "You lied for so long that you cannot stop. You lied even to yourself. Look into your innermost self, Grandmaster. I believe you will find that you intended to rule all along, and I was blind not to see." Van Gorich smiled, exposing dirty teeth. In the smile, the lines around the mouth, the set of the head, there was a flash of the man he had been. "Give me time. Everything will be set to rights. Protecting the Imperium and protecting humanity are not always the same. I will make it better. You will see." Thane looked at the filthy Van Gorich. His suaveness, intelligence and wit were gone. Time was cruel to mortal men. What bit at Thane the most was that Van Gorich was right. He should have stayed. He had set personal honor over duty. "It is too late. You failed in your ambition as you failed your emperor," said Thane. "It is time for you to step down, Van Gorich. Come and face judgment. You shall be tried by the new High Lords of Terra. Justice served shall be a warning to all those who think themselves mightier than the Emperor's will." Van Gorich stood and laughed, clapping in delight. 150 bolt gun slides were racked back. "What a marvelous speech," he said. "But no, I must decline. You see," he said impishly, "you are making a terrible mistake." "I made my mistake 100 years ago," said Thane. "I should have heeded your suggestion and let Veritus lead the Assasinorum." "You're making another one now," said Van Gorich. His eyes gleamed with incipient madness. "And it shall be your last." A klaxon blared its rising-falling song. Blinking lights shone in the alcoves along the temple walls. 100 capsules rose from the floor into them, rotating amber lights on their tops. They locked into place with loud thunks. Swirling gas filled each, lit with blue light. Inside them were the indistinct forms of human bodies, clad in tight-fitting sin-skin. In an asynchronous cacophony, the gas vented from the capsules. "This is Temple Eversaw," said Van Gorich. "Allow me to introduce its acolytes." The Space Marines opened fire, shooting at the capsules, but they were made of centimeters-thick armor glass, and though they cracked and fractured, they did not break. One by one, the shapes inside came alive, twitching gauntlets raking against their prisons. The doors opened, releasing more methanol fumes into the room. Water vapor condensed in the chilled air, cloaking everything with a dense, freezing fog. The warriors around Thane disappeared into coils of white. Thane activated false-color heat vision. He saw his men. The Eversaws were as cold as the gas. and he did not see them coming. Bolt guns went off all around him. Somewhere he heard Vangorich's insane laughter. The fight that followed was one of the hardest of Thane's life. Black-suited killers reared up in the mist, moving too fast for him to hit easily. The shouts of battle brothers rang in his helmet. Space Marines came into sight, only to be cut down by the flashing finger blades of Temple Eversor's crazed killers. "Fall back to the door," ordered Thane. "Defensive cordon." His dwindling men formed up around the entrance, back to back, bolt guns blazing. A handful of Eversors got behind them, causing great loss before they were cut down. Casualty screeds scrolled endlessly on Thane's faceplate display. Black, skull-masked assassins darted in and out of view, clawing men down. In their turn, the assassins died messily, blasted apart by mass reactives or detonated by uncontrollable biofeedback when their hearts stopped. Such was the force of their explosions that Space Marines went down, battleplate holed by fragments of hypervelocity bone shards and armor. "Keep them back," yelled Thane. "Keep them back." Executioner pistols fired, loud brazen bolt guns one moment, silent toxin needlers the next. The Eversors pressed nearer. Fighting became close and desperate, and the firing discipline of the Adeptus Astartes collapsed. The group disintegrated into individuals fighting for their lives in melee. At close quarters, Vangorich's killers excelled. The warriors fighting at his side became fewer, going from 100 to 75 to 50 to 20 to 10. Thane battled on, his power sword the flaring dividing line between his life and death. He parried and cut, but his blows cleaved only the mist. The assassins were faster than the wind, near impossible to hit. They fought in a frenzy that appeared at first to lack control, but after a time, Thane discerned a pattern to their combat and was awed by their skill. His actions became reflexive, time blurred. Only rarely had Thane fought so hard. As a space marine, he regarded himself as the pinnacle of the transhuman type. The Eversors, though unstable mentally and physically, challenged that belief. Thane fought with a dancing monster with a blue death's head for a face. It leapt around, howling like an animal. After minutes of dueling, Thane spotted a weakness in its attacks and brought his sword up, hilt first, swinging the point up and through the Eversor's stomach wall and gutting it. Before it died, it slashed down with its neuro-gauntlet. Monomolecular blades sliced through ceramite and plasteel, biting into Thane's flesh. Toxins surged from micropores all up the blades, pumping into the chapter master's body. He roared in agony. He had never felt such pain. He stumbled and fell to his knees, paralyzed by the poison. When his body had purged the toxins sufficiently for him to move, he looked up, his eyes streaming with tears. The mist was clearing. He heard a final round of gunfire, a scream, and the clash of power armor falling to the floor. A dark shadow fell across Thane's face. An Eversor stood over him, ready to deliver the final blow. "Halt!" called Vangorich. He walked through the last dispersing tendrils of mist. "You have lost, Chapter Master Thane, and it is your life that is forfeit." "No," said the Eversor, and stood back. Trembling with the effort of disobeying its programming, the killer pulled its skull mask from its face. Yanking cables from its head, it cast the mask aside. Most of the flesh of the face beneath had been peeled away, replaced with close-fitting augmetic devices. Elsewhere there was naught but shining, polished bone inscribed with devotional text, but there was just enough of the features left for Thane to recognize him. "Cruel!" he said. Through a mutilated mouth, Cruel managed to speak. "My name is Asa Dwyer," he said. He stood aside, leaving Thane a clear shot at Vangorich. Thane raised his bolt pistol. Vangorich's eyes widened. He held up his hands. "Wait, did you ever hear the story of the end of Conrad Kurz?" "No more stories, Draken," said Thane, and ended Vangorich's life with a single bolter shell. Swaying, feeling nauseous from the residue of the poison in his blood, Maximus Thane stood. He gripped his wounded arm. He was alone amid a carpet of broken bodies, Space Marine and assassin alike. He called out for survivors, but no voice answered. Relief flooded him when he voxed the Thunderhawks and found all was well outside. "Send the apothecaries. They have a harvest of sorrow ahead of them," he said. He turned away from Vangorich's broken corpse. Too weary to raise his sword, he dragged it across the ground as he walked unsteadily back towards the stairs and the daylight beyond. Of Isad Wire, there was no trace.